Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss about using critical thinking skill for listening comprehension. It's an assignment by Mr. Yusuf Al-Arif for Critical Thinking Skills course. Before we start the discussion, let me introduce the members of this group. There are Muhammad Hafiz Ansari, Tia Raditya, Yasminia Zahra Mardi, and myself, Devi Anastasia. There are 3 parts in this listening test, Part A, B, and C. Part A consists of 30 questions, Part B 8 questions, and Part C 12 questions.
Section 1, Part A. In the Part A, you will hear short conversation between two people. After each conversation, you will hear a question about the conversation. The conversation and question will not be repeated. After you hear a question, read the 4 possible answers in your textbook and choose the best answer. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen.
Here I will explain how to answer in Part A of the TOEFL listening section. There is a short conversation between two persons. In each conversation concludes with a question that needs to be answered in the choice of answer. Here are 30 questions in Section A. In the listening test in Part A, we must pay attention. First, focus on the second speaker. Second, read out the answer choices because it is really important in order to answer listening question. In this way, we can predict the context in which a conversation will be heard. Third, if you absolutely cannot understand what the second speaker is saying, choose the answer that is the most different from what you have heard. It is crucial to eliminate sounding the same word as what we heard with a choice of answers and in the audio, saying this is typically a manipulating answer. Fourth, just grasp the idea or content of the conversation. And the last is understanding the form of functional expression like agreement, uncertainty, suggestion, surprise, idiomatic expression, and the situation in which the conversation takes place.
Thank you, Yasminia, for the explanation how to answer the Part A. Now I am going to tell you about the example of Part A questions. Number 1. The woman said, Carla said that you were rather rude. The man said, it's unfair of her to say that about me. The question is, what does the man mean? And the answer is B. Because the man said, it's unfair of her to say that about me, the word unjust and unfair have the same denotation or meaning. That's why the answer is B. Number 2. The man said, I don't think this painting is very good. The woman said, it's better than the first one, isn't it? The question is, what does the woman say about painting? And the answer is A, because the woman said it's better than the first one, isn't it? Better than the first one means there's an improvement. The painting is getting better. That's why the answer is A.
For the example, number 19, the answer is B. In the dialogue, the man asks to the woman what she thinks about the new boss, and the woman said, I could not be more impressed with him. It means the woman has good impression of the new boss. So, the answer is C. She has good opinion of her boss. Number 20, the answer is D. The man said, it starts at 3 o'clock, doesn't it? The man used the question tag, which means He assumed that it began at 3 o'clock. So, the answer is D. He thinks the performance began at 3.
Hello, I'm Tara Ditya. So in this time I will discuss part B, section 2, part B, directions. In this part of the test, you will hear longer conversations. After each conversation, you will hear several questions. The conversation and question will not be repeated. After you hear a question, read the 4 possible answers in your textbooks and select the best answer. Then, on your answer sheets, find the number of the question and fill in the space that correspond to the letter for the answer you have chosen. Remember, you are not allowed to take notes or write in your textbooks. In part B, you will see several longer conversations and thoughts. You should answer each question on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speaker in the conversation or talk. Part B contains 2 long conversations, where each conversation has 4 questions. So, for the total question in section B, there are 8 questions. In part B, the problems that are often found is when determining the topic. It is because the topic is that implicitly. So, here is some advice for doing well on part B. First, try to guess the topic. In the few seconds before the conversation starts, look quickly at the answer choices so you can be ready for what's coming. Look at the words and expressions and try to guess what this topic will be. Second, try to guess the questions. You can also try to predict the questions. Look again at group of answers to try to guess what the questions will be. Then you will be ready to listen to the answer. Third, get the main idea from the first sentence or two. Listen carefully to the first or second line of the conversations. It often contains the main idea, and you will often be asked about that. Fourth, listen clearly to the keyword in the recording and then you need to draw your own conclusion about the topic. It is different when listening to specific information, such as who's talking and what is happening. And for the last, focus on the detail of the conversation. In a long conversation in part B, the speaker usually inserts the detail of the incident in it, which will be included in the question, and you need to try to find it.
Thank you, Thea, for the explanation how to answer part B. Now I am going to tell you about the examples of part B questions. Number 31. The answer is A. The haircut is unusually short because the man said, a bit shorter? I don't think so. It's a lot shorter. When I look in the mirror, I don't even know who is looking back at me. The phrase it's a lot shorter have the same connotation as unusually short. So the man haircut is unusually short. That's why the answer is A. Number 32. The answer is C. He dislikes it immensely. Because the man said 3 sentences that he make it clear about how much he dislikes it. The first one is, this is not even close to the haircut that I wanted. The second one is, when I look down at the floor, there are piles of my hair. My hair on the floor. I could not believe it. The third one is, it won't grow up fast enough to make me happy. That's why the answer is C.
The example for part B is question number 35. The question is, how often does the man used to talk to his great-grandmother? And the answer is B, every week. Let's take a look at the strategies in answer part B. First, try to guess the topic by a look quickly at the answer choices. If we look at the answer choices, we will find conversation about someone who is talking about his great-grandmother. Second, try to guess the question by look at each group of answer choices. At number 35, the answer choices relate to the frequency of an event. So the question will probably be how often. Third, get the main idea from the first sentence or two and focus on the detail of the conversation. At the beginning of the conversation, we heard the woman say, "Do you talk with her often?" And the man said, "I try to call her at least once a week." Once a week have the similarity with every week. That's why the answer is B, every week.
And now I will explain about section 3 or part C. In this part of the test, you will hear several talks. After each talk, you will hear questions. The talks and questions will not be repeated. After you hear a question, read the four possible answers in your textbook and choose the best answer. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the questions and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen. Part C mostly discussed about monologue, mini lectures, or speech where some of the sentences read by the narrator in Part C. This will be followed by several questions, so we have to focus here on listening to the monologue so that we can be critical in answering the questions. Here, I will briefly explain about how to answer section 3. And the first thing, if you have a lot of time, find keywords in the answer choices list on the question sheet. And the second is focus on talking on the first sentence because that will usually be the topic for the next sentence. And third is beware of matters relating to 5W, 1H. Focus your hearing. And the fourth is draw conclusions on the situation that occurred during the conversation. For example, questions number 43. The questions is in which course would this lecture most probably be given? And the answer is C, American history. We use the second way of think where we have to focus on the conversations in the first sentence. In the first sentence, the professors always talk about the clipper ship. There is a sentence if the professor says, the 19th century were the graceful, and so on. And another sentence is, the clipper first came into use in the United States in the 1840s. We find the keywords in that sentence 19th century and 1840s, which describe the year, so that we can draw conclusions if the professor explained about history. And the answer is C, American history. And that's all my explanation about how to answer the section 3 or part C. Thank you.
Thank you, Hafiz, for the explanation how to answer the part C and giving the example. And that's all the explanation and some examples of the listening comprehension. I hope our explanation are understandable and clear enough for you. Thank you for watching.